Mr. President, thank you so much for your time. May I call you Alexander? That's your right. As you wish. I'm from the West. I'm from America, and we have a very specific view of what's going on in Belarus. And in general, we have a special opinion about Belarus. But I know that you are a special leader. You have a very tough position against corruption. This is your professional ethics, so to speak. And I would like to know where this comes from. You know that I come from a very poor family. I have seen a lot of injustice in my life, despite the fact that in Soviet times we built the most just life. We have had enough of this injustice. And when you ask this question, you see that this principle of justice comes from the fact that I have seen this injustice, and I have always decided that the basis of my policy will be the struggle for justice. Corruption is a drinking-up quality and an indicator of injustice. If you dig deep enough, you will find that corruption is the basis of the most terrible phenomena, including wars. That's why I often assess the years of my presidency, both positively and negatively. My most positive quality is that I was able to preserve this feeling of struggle against injustice. This is my motto. I think you were right when you opposed this shock therapy in the economy. You were strongly against these measures, and I think that's why you didn't allow your economy to be seized. And maybe that's why you are strongly against corruption and wars. Well, you are right about the shock after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the choice of methods of treatment for this shock. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, we all started out the same way. The West advised us a lot. They told us how to build our lives. And as it turned out today, all this was a lie. Western lies. I think about this a lot and have already consulted some specialists on how to live on. Going forward, I will say that we need to seriously think about the governance of the country. We can even introduce a reform of the governance of the state, using the experience of the past. What did the West advise us to fight against? First of all, you're Americans. To fight against, in my opinion, Article 6 of the Constitution, where the Communist Party was the leading and guiding force of our society. Despite all the shortcomings of party building and the work of the Communist Party, I was a member of the Communist Party at the time. Everything was not easy. I can say that inside the party I was a constructive oppositionist. My position depended on life. And then this is a principle that I still adhere to. If you don't know what to do, you need to approach people. They will tell you what to do. And if you're not blind, they may not tell you what to do, but you need to see what to do tomorrow based on this life. So the West advised us first of all about multipartyism, then pluralism of opinions and so on. They advised us and we followed it. Of course, there was Russia in the avant-garde. Yeltsin's Russia, headed by Yeltsin. I'm not giving him grades here. He had a lot of positive things. And then everyone ran away. The cult of money and well-being was introduced into our brains. And you know, many, having lost their bearings, took the most delicious pieces to be well off, rich and so on. What did it lead to? You know this, especially from the example of Russia. Those who were closer to power took oil and gas-producing enterprises, got rich decently. This is how we followed. But being a parliament member, I saw it all, and God saved me from not being a supporter of such a course. I voted against the collapse of the Soviet Union. Maybe the Soviet Union reform was necessary. It was necessary. We had enough fools, as you have now in America. A lot of positive things, but enough fools too. What did it lead to? Look at our experience of the Soviet Union. And I spoke openly about this in the parliament. You can look at it. I was against this course, and when I became president, not even having the power that I have now, I began the country's reform in order not to allow what happened then in Russia. Stupid reforms were abolished in the most brutal way. We began to live from life on our own, relying on the opportunities that Russia had then, and we got what we got. You probably know our system well. Reforms are good. But when these reforms lead to strangers coming here, they steal your economy, force you to work for them, and create some kind of incomprehensible capitalism in the country. These are wrong reforms. That's why I think you did the right thing in your own way. And my goal is to show the West, because I am a Westerner, that you did the right thing. I want them to know what you were guided by when you did that, because all that you hear in the West is criticism. And I want them to understand why you did this and what the reasons were. And let me ask you this question about the European Union. Maybe that's why they treat you so badly. Because you always do the right thing and they can't appreciate it. Well, you're a romantic, first of all. It's impossible to explain to the European Union and the whole West what you want. You want the right thing, but they don't need the right thing. Neither you in America nor the European Union need the right thing. They need it in a way that benefits them. That's the first thing. Secondly, thank you for trying to explain it to them. You still need to explain it. There are a lot of smart politicians in the West who hear and believe in facts. Facts are facts. No matter how hard they try to wipe us out and get us out of this life, we still live. It's very dangerous to say that we live well. It's dangerous for the president because he has everything, both good and bad. But I always tell my people that we live the way we deserve. We have real opportunities to live better and even live well. But it depends on each person. My task, and that of the state, is to create opportunities for a normal life, honest and fair. If you break the law and act unfairly and try to fill your pockets at the expense of others, to get rich at the expense of others, that's not our policy. We react harshly to this no matter what it costs us, because it will lead to a war, at least a civil war within the country, which can turn into a war with its neighbors, so I know this very well and I warn against it. As for the European Union, their main failure is a thoughtless policy. They don't think ahead. You see, until today they relied on America and thought that America would come and solve all their problems. But Trump showed them that your problems are yours. They have nothing to do with America. Although they do, but he distanced himself from the European Union, from Europe, even from NATO. And his American issues are his issues, as well as those of the United States, such as Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, and the fight against China. That's why the European Union should have put not only a strategic goal, but also a tactical one. It should have been an independent support of this planet. No matter how they treated me, you know, I was always for the preservation of the European Union. Not because they are friendly to us and I try to build relations with them, but because the European Union, the United States of America, China, India, Russia are the pillars of the planet. And the more such pillars there are, the more stable the planet will be. I came from this philosophical meaning and supported the European Union. But they always strangled me. They tied me to Russia, to China, to the United States of America, to someone else. No, we are here as a small country, by the standards of Russia or America or China. We are a modern, sovereign, as far as possible independent state. We are here in the center of Europe. That's how God defined it. You have referred to the United States of America. In return, you are called a dictator. Have you ever been concerned because people who yourself are considered a leader, they want to be loved, so that they are treated well? Have you ever had such a negative attitude towards yourself from the West? You know, Rick, I'm a pragmatist. And again, it's not because I was an experienced politician when I became president. I was a green-nosed politician. I was 40 years old. But the Lord overpowered me to perceive the situation as it is. And He always told me, probably He. Although I was once an atheist, He told me that not everyone will love me. And if you are a radical person, let it be in the fight for justice. People don't always understand this. If you are a radical person, a lot of people may not love you. I was ready for this. Although I remember my conversation with Boris Yeltsin, my mood was somehow unimportant. I was meeting him and he asked me, "What happened to you that made your mood so bad?" And I read all this opposition, so to say, Western press, and there was all kinds of filth. Most importantly, it was unfair. There was nothing that was written about me, and I told him about it. He laughed and said, "Are you still reading them?" It was significant for me, and I still remember it. Yes, I read a lot, and that's it. I miss something, I don't remember. I react to something based on the principle of justice. This is important for me. If a person writes about something, we check it. Especially in social networks, we start checking, but 99% of the time it's not true. That's why I was far away, especially now, in order to tune in to mutual love. You know, I'm not an emperor like Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin. They can afford to talk about loving each other. I don't have the opportunity to do that. That's why they have this calm attitude to love, especially after many years of presidency. I'm an experienced person. I've read some rubbish, they call me a dictator and so on. I'm calm about it. When you started calling me the last dictator of Europe, I reacted, "Hurry up then, because I'm the last dictator of Europe." I was joking. Are you a dictator? Do you see yourself as a dictator? No, not at all. I don't have the resources to dictate. Trump has this resource. He dictates in Venezuela, Cuba. He tries to dictate in Iran, China. He tries to dictate to all the countries. He has this resource. I'm a historian. I know how it was in history. If you don't have this resource, don't try to dictate. Secondly, a dictatorship always leads to a defeat, a collapse, like what happened with Iran. It's not a collapse, but it looks like a defeat. If you're a dictator, you have to be very careful. You have to use your brain more often and keep your head on your shoulders, as we say. They say that you fixed the election. Did you fix the election? You know, I thought about it for a long time. The fact that I won all the elections is for sure 1.52% or 0.5%. If there was something in 85% or 67%, I don't even know about it. But specific people hold the elections, and I thought maybe someone changed it to 0.5%. Not 87%, not 85%, but 84%. What does it change? If we talk about elections, it's important to me because specific people hold the percentage. That's why I strongly disagree with the claim that I falsified the elections and seized power. Current sociological studies show that my trust in people has increased significantly even after the last elections. No one disputes it, even our fugitives, neither Americans nor Europeans. Why did the Americans go to negotiations? Because they know the real picture. They know who rules this country and what the role of this fugitive opposition is. Yes, you want it to have power, to return to Belarus and seize power. But it's too cruel, it's too self-assured. It won't happen. They understand it. That's why they really talk to the authorities that have power here. Tell me, Mr. President, there are no sponsors in Belarus that you report to. There is no military-industrial complex that sets the rules of the game. No power, no networks or organizations. There is. I have power. Maybe I'm not popular, but I'll put it simply, it's the people who elected me. I'm ready to do anything. But the main thing is to preserve this piece of land where not only we, but also our children will live. That's why there is power. As for sponsors, we have a lot of people who sponsor certain events. And I never step aside if it's for the sake of people. In sports, in healthcare, in everything aimed at people, no matter how much I'm criticized, no one will say that I took someone else's land, that I did something in the interests of some sponsor or a rich person. No one. Well, they can say it, but no one has put facts on the table. There are no such facts. For me, it's a barrier that I can't overcome. I can't make people blame me for taking something from some sponsors for the sake of my well-being. As of today, I have everything. I'm the president. My people, my state care about my safety so that I can carry out my presidential duties. I don't need anything. My advantage is that I'm from a poor family, so to speak. I'm not used to this wealth. It's not important to me, no matter how much I'm criticized. That's why apparently everything in life is formed from here. I didn't have rich parents. I'm not used to this luxurious life. I guess it's my mother's character. She always taught me, son, don't touch someone else's. Don't take someone else's. It's bad. It won't be bad today or tomorrow. That's why I remember it. I teach my children about it. People here like you, it seems to me. I've looked at the numbers. People are content with you. There are people who don't like you, and there are people who criticize you. But generally speaking, there are people who like you. There are people who don't like you. But in general, people in Belarus are satisfied with you. You like the Belarusian people. In general, I agree with what you just said, that maybe you have even more democracy than we do. But hypothetically, let's imagine that tomorrow you turn into a monster and commit a terrible act. How will people in Belarus react? Maybe they will want to get rid of you. Will they be able to do it? You know, if I turn into a monster, it's clear that I will lose the trust of many of my supporters. Genetically, Belarusians are not capable of and will not support monsters. Genetically. That's what's inside of them. That's what our people and our civilization, Russia, Ukraine, we have been through. We can't have monsters. That's the first thing. Secondly, having such power as I have in Russia and so on, in Kazakhstan, the president can try to, as we say, eat a rat. He can try. It won't work for him. The people won't accept it, and I understand that. Therefore, this understanding won't give me the opportunity to become such a dictator and to dictate my policy to the Belarusian people. That's the first thing. Secondly, some of our neighbors would be glad if I got off the wheel. That would be a reason for them to say to the Belarusian people, "Look, you have a monster. Let's fight him together." That would be a good reason and a fair reason to fight my external enemies and opponents. So I understand this well. I've learned this lesson. But the danger you've just mentioned is always there in any state where the president has no brakes, where there are no restraints of reasonable countermeasures. Not like you once taught us, reasonable. And the most reasonable restraint and countermeasure is the people. Here's an example of Ukraine. In the past, my ancestors were born in Ukraine, and I feel sorry for the Ukrainian people. But before the interview, I thought about this issue and came to the conclusion that Ukrainians pay for their decisions. After all, they elected Zelensky as the president. They knew he was an inexperienced person. They knew his shortcomings. Maybe they didn't know why they voted. They really elected Zelensky as the president. Of course, Zelensky should be. I was as green as he was. But I had the land under my feet. I had a certain life experience, and he had a show. And Ukrainians knew that too, but they elected him. Although it was hard to choose someone. There were alternatives, but they elected him, and now they pay for it. And they pay very dearly. That's why I have no right to reproach the Ukrainian people, but let Ukrainians deal with it. They're also guilty of it. They democratically elected this president. You're a unique person. The West doesn't understand that you need to be friends with everyone, not to harm anyone, but to build good relations. You can get along well with Russia, China, the West, the USA. Maybe that's why they don't like you there, because you have the strength to go against the system. To go against it is in my character. You pointed it out correctly. Maybe it's not always good. But I have to tell you that you need to be friends with those who you can be friends with. Only with those who want to be friends with you. How can I be friends with Starmer or Biden? How can I be friends with him if he is against me in one sanction, and the Europeans put a loop around my neck to hang me? How can I be friends with them? We are friends with Putin. Even more than friends. We communicate like brothers. He wants to see me and be friends with me. I am happy to be friends with Putin, the same with Xi Jinping. We have established a good practice. Every year, as the Chinese called it, we hold family meetings. In the near future, we will meet in a family setting. My youngest son graduated from Peking University. I come to his family and we become friends. Kim in North Korea, you demonized him. He is a wonderful, smart and educated person. He fights for his interests, for the interests of his country. He does not prevent anyone from living. You are trying to destroy him. He is a strong man. He is trying to defend himself. How can he? How does he understand this? He is ready to have good relations with me. Friendly relations, I do not mind. You can be friends with such people not because they are enemies of America, but because they also want to be friends with you. If Donald Trump is ready to build friendly relations with me or Belarus America, we are open to it, and we want it. You are right. It is impossible, but it is desirable for everyone to be friends with each other. Then there will be no wars. Then there will be help for each other. And then Cuba and the United States will exist with each other. Venezuela, Panama, Colombia, Nicaragua will always be with love. Maybe not with love, but with respect for the United States of America. If there is an aspiration to this friendship, what about friendship? You can be friends only with those who want to be friends with you. If Europeans do not want to be friends with me, it is true. I do not want to be friends with them. They do not want to be friends with me. How can we build friendly relations with them? Were you surprised how badly the US missile defense system worked in the Middle East and how well Iran was prepared? And a final remark on this topic. What is behind Iran's success? Relations with China and help from China? Maybe help from Russia. Some intelligence data that they gave to Iran. Where did Iran find the forces capable of confronting America with its incredible power? You know, there is no need for conspiracy here. You journalists are hyperbolizing all this, and you see it in a terrible light. Iranian weapons and weapons are incompatible with American ones, or vice versa. American weapons are incompatible with Iranian ones. You brought several hundred missiles on aircraft carriers and other ships to the Iranian shores. Or you have certain weapons, that's how it is. What is surprising here? Iran knew all your points, all your warehouses of weapons and weapons in neighboring countries of the Persian Gulf. In the Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait and so on, where you had bases in Saudi Arabia, they were under fire. In military terms, they were under fire by the Iranians. And having certain weapons, which of course are not American, if Iran had American weapons, Iran would have at least wiped out Israel from the face of the earth. They, of course, have a smaller level, but not much. There were drones, there were missiles, with a certain range, even up to 4,000 kilometers, they hit your base. That is, they did not understand that Iran is a mountain country. Persia, they hid this weapon in the mountains, which are inaccessible for American missiles. Whatever they were, they hid their weapons. And when the Americans realized that they had won, they hit you with missiles and drones. Thousands of drones, and even the Golden Dome of Israel could not cope with this, not to mention the bases that were in the Persian Gulf. Not to mention the ships that brought these missiles there and used them. Well, yes, you destroyed schools, you destroyed museums, cultural objects, residential buildings, separate power plants, oil industries. You hit them. You stopped their work, you destroyed something, you killed someone. You killed the leadership of Iran. And this is a lesson for you after Venezuela. You showed your face, you killed them. And what happened next? Other more radical people. The fact that you destroyed a house in one block makes people poor. It is a warm country. They move to tents and live somewhere. The fact that you killed children does not make you look good. You can't bring them back. But this is not a disaster for Iran. And they, with their drones, which may be worse than American ones, but they are not inferior to them, used their shaheeds to strike. There will be no winner here. The world has won a little bit so far, but it is so fragile. This world still needs to be. The truce has been announced. It is necessary to come to peace. And a lot will depend on Donald Trump. It looks like his intuition and feelings prevailed, and he understood that he can't go any further. There will be trouble, but I want to warn you, Iran is a Muslim world. It understood what the Americans are. And you must be ready to the fact that not only Iranians, Houthis and others will attack the Americans all over the world. The whole Muslim world, and even those countries that you consider your friends, will not just carry out a policy of caution and caution. There will be a lot of people who will be targeted by the Americans. You have shaken the whole Muslim world, and the people there are strong. They will not spare their lives, unlike you and me. They will not spare their lives to protect their values. That is why you have unleashed such an anthill that needs to be calmed down as soon as possible, to go to concessions, to meet somewhere, but to do it in a way that you will not be attacked all over the world. Do not think that you will hide behind the ocean. The Americans are all over the world. Maybe in Washington it will be calm, or in Florida. But in other places it will be hard for you. That is why you need the wisdom of your leadership, Hext, Rubio, Trump. You need to find an opportunity to reach an agreement, to calm down, to calm down. Do not go against Israel. If Israel wants to fight, let it fight. Do you think the Europeans want a war with you and Russia, especially with Russia? I have the feeling that yes. I continue to hear these hostile statements from people like Merz. He gathers a large army to go to war with Russia. This is not a direct quote, but the message is transmitted exactly like this. Is it possible to have a war? No, it is not possible, and at least now they do not want it. How will it be tomorrow? Time will show, because the world is so turbulent, the world is so unpredictable that it is not clear, and it is not known what will happen tomorrow, not what will happen the day after tomorrow. Today they do not want this, because it will end badly for them, especially at a time when they do not have very good relations with the United States of America. They have nowhere to run, and they will have to run. Therefore, they do not want a clash between Belarus and Russia. In no case. I do not believe in this. No matter what rhetoric there is NATO finished? Many say that NATO is over. Do you think that NATO is over, or are they dead? No. Even if Trump decides that NATO is over, he will not have enough time to implement it. Other people will come who will save NATO. And Trump and his people understand that NATO is not only the warheads and money of the United States of America, it is a colossal bridgehead of the United States of America together with its allies on the Eurasian continent. Thank you very much for the invitation. If only it is possible, with great pleasure. You see, we are almost friends. This is the basis of friendship.